We've all seen it happen. A project has all the funding in the world, tons of data, but it just fizzles out. Well, today, we're going to decode the secret ingredient that makes process improvement actually stick: the people. This is all about the human engine behind Six Sigma. Let's jump in.
So let's start with a question that probably keeps a lot of managers up at night. You've got the budget, you've got the green light from the top, you're sitting on a mountain of perfect data, and yet the project stalls. Or worse, the improvements you make just don't last. So why does this happen over and over again?
And here's the answer, right from the heart of the Six Sigma philosophy. It all comes down to ownership. See, data can't make a decision on its own, and a fancy chart can't go and remove a roadblock. If you don't have a clear human structure where every single person knows their role, the whole thing just falls flat. This is the exact problem that Six Sigma's role-based system was built to solve.
I want you to think of it like assembling a special ops team for your business. Six Sigma isn't just a toolbox full of statistical methods. It's a blueprint for building that team. The whole structure is designed specifically to take those big, high-level business goals and turn them into real, tangible results on the ground. And, most importantly, to make sure those results actually last.
All right, so who's running this special ops team? Let's start right at the top with the strategic command. These are the folks who set the entire mission in motion. Right at the very top, you have your executive leadership. We're talking the C-suite. Now, their job isn't to get bogged down in the statistical weeds, not at all. Their job is to provide the vision. They're the ones who link these improvement goals to the company's bottom line, they approve the budgets, and this part is absolutely crucial. They provide what the source calls cultural air cover. Their visible support tells the whole organization, hey, this isn't just the project of the week, this is a real strategic priority. Okay, now this role is fascinating. The champion. This person is the critical bridge between the boardroom and the project team on the ground. They take those big picture pain points that the executives care about and translate them into concrete, actionable project charters. They pick the teams, they knock down barriers between departments, and they have to sign off on every phase of the project. Make no mistake, they are the true owners of the project's success.
So, the mission's been set by leadership, and the project has a champion who owns it. Now it's time to bring in the specialist unit, the famous belt hierarchy. Let's break down what each of these belts actually does.
At the very peak of the technical team is the Master Black Belt. The best way to think of them is as the organization's Six Sigma architect. They're not just leading projects, they're in charge of the entire methodology. They're the ones deciding which statistical software to use, setting the standards for other belts, and acting as the ultimate coach for the black belts when they hit those really tough problems.
And working with the Master Black Belt are the project leaders on the ground, the Black Belts. These are your full-time, 100% dedicated change agents. They're the ones who take on the big, messy, complex projects that cross multiple departments, and they lead them from the very beginning all the way to the end. They're running the stats, leading the team meetings, and proving that the solutions work.
So, what's the difference between a black belt and a green belt? This slide lays it out perfectly. Black belts are full-time, tackling those huge projects that span the whole company. Green belts, on the other hand, are part-time. They lead smaller projects, usually right within their own department. And here's the key. Having a bunch of green belts just multiplies your company's ability to improve. It drives change everywhere without a massive cost.
And supporting them all are the yellow belts. These are your frontline team members who've been trained in the basics. Now, they don't lead projects themselves, but their support is absolutely vital. They're in the brainstorming meetings, they're helping collect data, and they are so important for getting new procedures accepted by everyone on the floor. Getting a lot of people yellow belt trained is how you build a real culture of improvement from the ground up.
Okay, so a project can have the best team of belts in the world, but without these next two roles, all the amazing improvements they make can just vanish. Let's talk about the ground truth crew.
This might be one of the single most critical roles for making sure success lasts: the process owner. After the Black Belts project is done and the team moves on, the process owner becomes the permanent guardian of that new, improved process. They are responsible for watching the performance dashboards, keeping procedures up to date, and jumping on any signs of trouble. Without this clear handover, all that hard work just evaporates over time.
And then you have your subject matter experts, or SMEs. Data can tell you what is happening, but it's the SMEs who can tell you why. They have that tacit knowledge that's not written down in any manual. They're the ones who can tell you if you're even measuring the right thing, or if a proposed solution is actually going to work in the real world. They know all the hidden steps that don't show up on any official map.
Okay, so we've met all the players. Now let's see how this whole team actually works together in a real project, using that standard DMAIC framework: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control.
Just look at how these roles all interact. In the define phase, the executives point the way, and the champions work with the process owners to write the actual project charter. Then, in measure, the black belt leads the technical work while green belts and SMEs are out there getting the data and giving it context. This whole collaborative dance continues right through analyze and improve. And then you see it right at the end. In the control phase, that all-important handover to the process owner finally begins. Let's just zoom in on that handover because it is so important. This isn't just a casual pat on the back and a, hey, it's all yours now. No way. It's a formal, disciplined process. The black belt creates the control plans, they personally train the process owner on how to use them, they document the financial savings, and only then is ownership officially transferred. That discipline is exactly what locks in the gains.
So, we've seen how the system is supposed to work. But what happens when it goes wrong? Let's take a look at some of the most common pitfalls and best practices to make sure this human engine is running smoothly.
This table just lays it out so clearly. If you mismatch skills, like you put someone who isn't a great leader in a black belt role, you're going to get delays and frustration. If it's not crystal clear who's accountable for what between the champion and the process owner, your improvements just won't stick. And if that executive support we talked about isn't there, well, those big organizational barriers are going to stay right where they are. Every single one of these pitfalls comes right back to a failure in the human system.
And that really brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. Six Sigma is so much more than a statistical toolkit. When you get the human side right, when every role is clearly defined, everyone is properly trained, and they're all fully supported, you transform one-off projects into a sustainable, self-running profit engine. So the real question isn't just about what tools you're using, it's about who's using them and how.